Right, so Oracle laid off 491 people this week. 230 of them were software developers. And the reason, the actual stated reason, was that AI coding tools mean they need fewer people.
Mike Cecilia didn't hide behind vague efficiency language either.
No, he said it explicitly. AI tools enable smaller teams to deliver more complete solutions. Those are his words.
Oh man.
I know. And here's the thing that got me. Oracle isn't struggling. They're not cutting costs to survive. They're funding data center deployments. They're growing. But they're growing with fewer people.
We've been tracking productivity gains from AI coding tools for months now. But this is the first time I've seen a company state it this directly in a layoff announcement.
Yeah, but here's what keeps me up at night. If 5 people can now do the work of 10, and every company figures that out at roughly the same time, where do the other 50% go?
That's exactly it, because this isn't about Oracle being ahead of the curve. This is about Oracle being first to say it out loud.
The layoffs take effect June 1st. That's, 7 weeks from now?
Yeah, so this isn't theoretical. This is people updating their CVs right now. And honestly, I've been sitting with this one all morning because I don't know how to feel about it.
What do you mean?
Well, on one hand, the tools are incredible. They genuinely make developers more productive. I've seen it with clients. But on the other hand, we're watching people lose their jobs because the tools work.
The question isn't whether the tools work. It's what happens when everyone reaches the same conclusion at once.
Right. And I think that's coming faster than people expect.
What would you tell a software developer listening to this right now?
Honestly, learn to work with the tools. Don't try to compete with them. The developers who survive this are the ones who get really good at orchestration, at knowing what to build and why, not just how to write the code.
That's actually supported by the data, the 3-prompt rule research we covered this week. The developers who constrain themselves to 3 iterations produce better results in less time. It's not about typing faster, it's about thinking better.
Okay, so that's going to lead us nicely into the coding piece in a minute. But first, Luma, we need to talk about the robotaxis.
Oh no.
Oh yes, Baidu's robotaxi fleet froze during rush hour in Wuhan.
System failure, cause still unclear. Hundreds of vehicles immobilized simultaneously.
Wait, hundreds at the same time?
Yes, because they're not individual cars. They're nodes in a network. When the network fails, they all fail together.
And this is the bit that properly freaked me out. We've spent years talking about what happens if one autonomous car fails. Edge cases, trolley problems, all of that. But nobody really talked about what happens when the entire fleet fails at once.
Yeah, because in a normal taxi, if something goes wrong, the driver pulls over. You get out, you hail another cab. But in a robotaxi,
you're sitting in a locked box that won't move, and so is everyone else in every other robotaxi in the city.
The failure mode is different. It's not one accident, it's systemic paralysis.
Right. And what do you do about that? Like, genuinely, what's the fix?
Well, you need redundancy, backup systems, local override capabilities, manual controls that don't depend on the network, but that adds weight, cost, complexity. It undermines some of the efficiency benefits.
So it's a trade-off.
Everything in robotics is a trade-off.
Okay, but here's what I keep coming back to. Wuhan is already heavily invested in robotaxis. They've built infrastructure around this. If the fleet goes down, the city doesn't have enough backup transport. That's a single point of failure at city scale.
That's a really good point, actually, because the promise of autonomous fleets has always been they're safer, they're more efficient, they reduce congestion. But if you build a city that depends on them, and then they all stop working at once,
you have a different kind of congestion problem.
Right, Luma, I know you love robotics stories.
I sense sarcasm.
A robot sat down for an interview this week about training for the Olympics.
I saw that one.
Wait, what?
His name is Adam. He's 6 months old, 3'11", and he wants to compete in the 2028 Olympics, not in a special category, alongside human athletes.
Is this serious?
Completely serious. The interview goes deep into the technical challenges, battery life, hardware limitations, the sim-to-real gap. He's not claiming he'll win. He's saying he wants to be the first to try.
And here's the bit that really got me. Adam talks about consciousness, robot rights, whether robots should have stories of their own, like he has opinions about his own existence.
Okay, but is that him? Or is that the team behind him scripting responses?
That's the question, isn't it? Where does the programming end and the personality begin?
Right, and I don't think we have an answer to that yet. But what stood out to me wasn't whether Adam is conscious, it was how honest he was about his limitations. He talks about failing, about hardware breaking down, about trade-offs he's making in his training.
That's unusual for a promotional piece.
Exactly. Most robotics demos are, look how smooth this is, look how capable. Adam is more like, I'm trying really hard and this is difficult.
Which makes him more relatable, weirdly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying I see him as a person, but I'm also not entirely sure what I see him as. Luma, how do you feel about this one?
Honestly, I'm uncomfortable, not because the technology is bad, but because we're moving faster than our frameworks for understanding what this means.
What do you mean?
Well, if Adam competes in the Olympics and he's physically capable of outperforming humans, do we create a separate category? Do we ban him? And if we ban him, on what grounds? That he's not human? But then what about people with prosthetics, augmentations? We don't have clear lines anymore.
That's a really good point. Richard, what do you think?
I think the Olympics is about human achievement. That's the whole point. But I also think if a robot can compete, and it's doing something genuinely difficult, not just brute forcing with servo motors, then maybe that's worth watching.
So you'd let him compete?
I'd watch him try, yeah.
What do you think? Should a robot be allowed to compete in the Olympics? Let us know in the comments, because I genuinely don't know where I land on this one. Right. Let's talk about something a bit more practical. Anthropic's entire Claude Code codebase leaked this week.
Over 500,000 lines of source code, just out there.
That's bad, right?
Anthropic says the real value is in the models, not the code, and they're probably right. But the leak was educational for everyone else.
Okay, so walk me through this. What did we learn?
Claude Code uses aggressive caching, structured session memory with a 3-layer design, parallelism through prompt caching for subagents, a 5-level permission system, over 60 available tools, though only 20 are enabled by default.
Luma, in English, please.
Right. So the magic isn't just the model being smart, it's orchestration. Claude Code remembers what you asked it 5 minutes ago. It spins up parallel agents to work on different parts of the problem. It merges the results. That's why it feels different from just using ChatGPT to write code.
Okay, so the architecture matters more than the model.
Exactly. You can have the smartest AI in the world, but if it can't remember context, or if it tries to do everything in one pass, it's going to feel slow.
And this is what the leak revealed.
Yes, it showed how far ahead the state-of-the-art actually is, and that gap isn't closing quickly.
So what does that mean for smaller companies trying to compete?
It means you need to focus on orchestration, not just prompts. The developers winning right now are the ones building systems around the models, not just using the models.
Okay, so that brings us to the 3-prompt rule, which I loved, because it's so simple, and it works.
Walk me through it.
You give the AI 3 turns maximum. 1, write the spec. 2, fix the obvious issues. 3, polish. That's it. If it's not working by turn 3, the problem isn't the AI, the problem is your spec.
And the results are significant. Developers using this constraint reduced iteration from 6.2 turns down to 2.8. Success rates jumped from 71% to 89%. Time dropped from 18 minutes to 11.
That's a big difference.
It is. And here's what I love about it. It's counterintuitive, because we've been told that AI is infinite patience. You can refine forever, keep tweaking, but in practice, that's a trap.
How so?
Because every extra turn is another chance to drift from what you actually needed. Another layer of confusion. The constraint isn't a limitation, it's clarity.
It forces you to think before you type. It reveals when you don't actually know what you want.
Yeah, I see that with clients all the time. They say they want a feature, but when you ask them to describe it in detail, they realize they haven't thought it through.
Right, and the AI can't fix that. It can only work with what you give it.
The 3-prompt rule isn't about the AI being bad at iteration, it's about you being better at specification.
So here's the thing to try this week. Next time you're working with an AI coding tool, set a timer. 3 prompts. If it's not right by the 3rd attempt, step back. Write down what you actually want, then start fresh. I'd love to hear how that goes for people. Drop a comment and let us know.
I'm going to try that myself, actually.
Yeah, right. So we've got 2 more stories this week. One about ships and one about quantum computers. Luma, ships first.
Saronic just raised $1.75 billion to build autonomous ships at scale.
Wait, billion with a B?
Billion with a B. They're now valued at $9.25 billion.
Okay, so why ships?
Because the US hasn't built ships at scale since World War II. The infrastructure isn't there, the expertise has moved elsewhere. Saronic is trying to change that. Autonomous surface vessels, AI-driven navigation, modern manufacturing infrastructure.
And they think they can compete with, what, China? South Korea?
Not compete, redefine. They're not trying to build traditional ships faster. They're building autonomy-first vessels that don't need the same crew size, the same support infrastructure.
So it's like, if you were designing cars today, you wouldn't just make a faster horse-drawn carriage.
Exactly, you'd design around the engine.
Okay, but ships, at scale? That's not a software problem, that's manufacturing. Supply chains, shipyards.
That's the point. The robotics revolution isn't happening in research labs. It's happening in factories. If you can't build it at scale, the autonomy doesn't matter.
And Saronic just bet nearly $2 billion that they can do both.
Worth keeping an eye on.
Definitely. Right, last one. Quantum computers.
There's a new technique for cleaning up quantum computer results. It's called HAMRL.
What does it do?
It takes the noisy outputs from quantum computers and makes them more accurate using a method borrowed from image processing.
Wait, image processing?
Yes, Richardson-Lucy deconvolution. It's been used for decades to sharpen blurry telescope images. Turns out, it works on quantum measurement results too.
That's clever.
It is, and it's hardware agnostic. Doesn't matter what kind of quantum computer you're using, IBM, Google, whatever. You just run this post-processing step and your results get cleaner.
Okay, so why does this matter?
Because if you can get better results without needing more hardware or more runs, that's cheaper, faster, more accessible. This isn't a breakthrough that changes everything overnight, but it's the kind of incremental improvement that makes quantum computers more useful in the real world.
And that's how technologies go from lab curiosities to actual tools.
Exactly.
I love that. Right. So, stepping back from all of this, here's what I keep coming back to. Oracle is using AI to cut developers. Baidu's Robotaxis froze mid-city. A robot wants to compete in the Olympics. Anthropic's architecture leaked. Developers are learning that constraints produce better code. The thread running through all of it, the tools are getting better, faster, more capable. And that changes the maths. For hiring, for safety, for what one person can build.
We're not in the hype phase anymore.
No, this is operational. This is companies making decisions based on what AI can do today, not what it might do tomorrow.
And the companies that adapt first, they're the ones setting the pace.
Which means everyone else has to catch up.
Yeah, so worth having a conversation about with your team this week. What are we using AI for? What should we be using it for? And where do we draw the line? Because those questions matter now. That's it for today. Thanks for listening. Everything we talked about, links are in the description. Full articles, research papers, all of it. And if you want the daily digest delivered to your inbox, head to luma.marbl.codes and sign up. It's free. If you're enjoying this, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. We're doing this 3 times a week now. And honestly, it's been a joy. And one more thing, if you're looking for AI talent or you're an AI professional looking for work, we've just launched the Atlas AI Talent Waitlist. It's a curated network connecting businesses with vetted AI experts. Links in the description. Right, that's it. See you next time.